Get ready, Padres fans. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Yeah, Machado laces it in the air to deep left. This one, gonna go!
Coming up, we'll recap the last Padres game, preview today's starting pitching matchup, give you our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today, the Padres take on the Miami Marlins in the final game of a 3-game series and the final game of this 10-game road trip. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Marlins, right-hander Jansen Junk, and for the Padres, right-hander Walker Buehler. Hi again, everybody. Sam Levitt with you from inside our Padres Radio Network studios here in San Diego. First pitch coming up at 10:40 a.m. from Lone Depot Park in Miami. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. You'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. You'll hear from Padres president of baseball operations and general manager AJ Preller. We'll have our keys to today's game and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres and the Marlins both come in 52 and 53 on the season. The Padres enter today 3 games out of a wild card spot in the National League. They are 4-5 on this 10-game road trip to Kansas City, Atlanta, and Miami. Marlins have lost 11 games in a row. That matches the longest losing streak in team history. The Marlins have never lost 12 in a row. They will try to avoid that here today. We had the middle game of this 3-game series yesterday. Let's quickly rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, yesterday, a scoreless game in the top of the third. There were 2 in scoring position for Ty France.
Ty swings, hits it over the head of Sanoja down the left field line, a base hit. Cronenworth trots home. Machado's right behind him. France is digging for second. The throw in the tag. He is out at second base, but both runs do score, and the Padres will take a 2-0 lead to the bottom of the third.
Padres maintained a lead primarily because Randy Vasquez and J.P. Sears did a really good job. Vasquez giving up just 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Sears went 3 1/3 scoreless innings. Padres led 3-1 going to the 8th inning. Lefty Dax Fulton entered for Miami after right-hander Yori Perez went 7. He issued a leadoff walk to Jake Cronenworth. Jake stole second. That set things up for guess who? Ty France.
And Ty swings, lines it up the middle into center and a base hit. Cronenworth is rounding third. He's on his way home. He will score, and another base hit for Ty France to bring home a run, and it's 4-1 in the 8th.
Padres were not done. Jackson Merrill singled. Luis Rengifo walked to load the bases. That brought up Jace Bowen.
Swings here, lines it the other way. That's down, and a base hit for Bowen. Francis scored. Merrill's right behind him. Here's the throw, the tag. He's safe. A 2-run single the other way for Jace Bowen, and the Padre lead is 6-1.
Padres led 6-1 heading to the bottom of the 8th inning. Marlins would get a run against Matt Waldron to make it 6-2. Top 9, Padres got the run back. Fulton walked Fernando Tatis Jr. Fernando went to second on a wild pitch. Jake Cronenworth at the plate.
Now the pitch, and Jake grounds it to the right side. That'll go through, and a base hit. Tatis is being waved. Ruiz will not throw home. An RBI single for Jake Cronenworth. And the Padres get an add-on run here in the top of the 9th inning. It's 7-2.
And the Padres would go on to win by that final score of 7-2. Padres taking the first 2 games of this series in Miami, and now they set up an opportunity to potentially sweep the Marlins in this 3-game series on this Sunday. Padres, with a win, of course, would move back to 500 at 53-53. They also would secure a 5-5 road trip after beginning this trip 2-5 after the stops in Kansas City and Atlanta. As always, on our morning games, little Padres and pancakes for you. You can get involved on our pregame coverage by finding me on X or Instagram at SammyLev, SammyLev. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from, and if you want to share how you are getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball on this Sunday, let me know what you're doing. You got the coffee going, you got some pancakes on the griddle, whatever you're doing, however you're getting ready to enjoy Padres baseball, let me know. May just give you a shout out live here on the air. Let's go to South Beach in Florida.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, before I get to some of the particulars about today's game, I do want to revisit what the Padres have done the last 2 days with their pitching staff in particular. It's been very, very interesting. They've essentially become the bullpenning Padres the last couple of days. I don't think they're going to do that today with Walker Buehler. We'll get to him in a bit. But your thoughts on not only the strategy of what they've done pitching-wise the last couple of days, but also, quite frankly, the effectiveness of what they've done.
Let's start with the strategy. I think it shows you really what Craig Stammen has showed you all year, and that's he's flexible. There isn't something that he's beholden to. And so, they have, out of necessity, had to go to this strategy. Just kind of talking to the staff a little bit, it's not necessarily, the time of the year. It's more the guys who they've done it with have all struggled to get deep into the games, and as opposed to going into that blind, they've gone into it with a plan, and it's worked to perfection in both nights. And you're right. The hope is that you don't have to do it today. If indeed you do, it now puts you behind the 8 ball because of how you've had to approach the last 2 days. But you can't really worry about that when you're in the position that the Padres are in. You have to find a way to win games, and the strategy has worked. Also because the offense has performed well as well. Yeah,
great point. The offense really, really good yesterday. We'll see if they can do something like that again here today. Let's talk about Walker Buehler. Last start in Atlanta, he was coming out of the All-Star break. It was a really rough 3-start stretch before the break. It was good as far as the innings pitched, the runs given up. He did walk a lot of guys. Tony, what did you see from Walker in Atlanta? What do you want to see today?
I thought that was one of the more gutsy starts that Walker had. It looked like it was headed where the 3 previous starts had gone, but he was able to settle in. He got the ship right, and at the end of the day, when he left that ball game, he had only given up 2 runs, and it could have been a whole lot more with those 5 walks he had. And I just thought he showed a lot of moxie, kind of being able to get himself out of that kind of rut where he couldn't throw strikes, and he got back to being the Walker we had seen at some points during the season. They're going to need him to be like that tonight or today once again.
Yeah, we'll see if Walker Buehler can replicate something like that today. Jansen Junk on the mound for Miami. We'll talk more about him a little bit later. Tony, Jackson Merrill had 3 hits yesterday. He went the other way a couple of times, and we've talked about this before, but he does have some swings as of late that do make you remember how well he goes the other way when he's going right, and that looks like the Jackson that we've come to know and love. Your thoughts on Jackson Merrill, what he did yesterday, and how he's swinging the bat right now?
Here's what I got with Jackson. I think he has gotten past the mechanical issues that we've seen. However, his issue is going to be moving forward what he attacks that's in the zone, what he attacks that's outside the zone. When he's attacking the pitches in the zone, with the exception of the first hit yesterday, that was a sinker like off the plate that, he just used his kind of athleticism to poke that double the other way. When he's in the zone, good things happen almost all the time. It doesn't mean he's going to square everything up. He's going to foul some off. He's going to miss some. But his issues are ultimately when he's chasing. Up, down, out, in. Whenever he's chasing, that's when it doesn't look as good. But I think right now when you're watching him, the mechanical issues have kind of moved away, and now it's just about him hunting the zone. And when he's doing it, we've seen kind of the results we've seen over the last couple of games.
Tony, before I let you go, I want to veer off into the induction day in Cooperstown coming up later on this afternoon. Two of the players that are getting inducted, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran, and I want to ask you about their defense, because when I think of those two guys, Jones, a 10-time Gold Glove winner, Beltran, a 3-time Gold Glove winner, and obviously they were amazing defenders, but I think of those two guys as outfielders that just made it look so easy. So easy. Your thoughts on those two guys in particular as a former Major League outfielder getting inducted today?
Andrew Jones is the greatest defensive center fielder I think we've ever seen, and that's my humble opinion. Watching him as a 18-year-old on the World Series stage, and then it just seemed like there was not a ball in the stadium that he couldn't get to. It had to be over the wall if you were going to beat him. And in terms of Beltran, I think he was the ultimate kind of all-around guy. He could play all three spots. Earlier in his career, he played some center, but his bat was phenomenal. I mean, he had that run. I can't remember what postseason run it was where he was maybe one of the greatest trade acquisitions ever, and really put that team on his shoulders. But they're both well deserving. It's a little sad that it took both of these guys a little time to get in there. They're both really deserving, and I'm sure they are ecstatic about going in officially today.
Yeah, if you're listening, if you have time, go look up what Carlos Beltran did with the Astros. That was after he got traded from Kansas City in the 2004 postseason. Incredible run. Set up him getting a really big contract with the Mets the next year as well. I actually pulled it up. 8 home runs in the 12 games. He hit .435 with a 1557 OPS that postseason. Yeah, it was crazy. All right, Tony, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up in a little bit. Thanks so much.
All right, Sam, take care.
All right, Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres radio network. Yes, Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, and Jeff Kent being inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame a little bit later today, and congratulations to all those guys. A number of other awards as well throughout the weekend, including Joe Buck receiving the Ford C. Frick Award. Obviously, Joe called a lot of World Series in his day. He's still very much in his day. I mean, how old is Joe Buck? He's not even that old, and he's still doing all his football stuff. Not really the baseball anymore, but he was the Frick Award winner in 2026, and we'll revisit the Hall of Fame stuff coming up during our Around the Horn segment a little bit later. When we come back, let's revisit what Craig Stammen had to say after yesterday's win in Miami. We'll take our first look at the Padres lineup today. Much more to do as we get ready for first pitch coming your way at 10:40 a.m. here on the West Coast. Our pregame coverage continues after these words. everybody, and welcome back into our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. That's 760-350-3338. As we get ready for this series finale coming up in Miami. Final game of this 3-game set. Final game of this 10-game road trip. Padres right now 4-5 on the trip, so an opportunity to make it a 500 trip here today. Now, did you want a 500 trip when it started? No, you would have liked a little bit better than that. However, when you start the trip 2-5 and you're going to Miami to face a team in the midst of a long losing streak, you know what? You'll take a series sweep and hopefully build a little bit of momentum as the Padres come back home. By the way, remember, Padres have an off day tomorrow. They're back home for the first time in more than 2 weeks between this long road trip and the All-Star break. First time in more than 2 weeks, the Padres will be back home Tuesday and Wednesday against the Rockies, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Giants. The final 6 games before the before the trade deadline, rather. Final 6 games before the trade deadline. So a big homestand coming up, big games, and so we'll see you at Petco Park. You go to Padres.com/tickets for all your ticketing needs and more information. Some great giveaways this week as well. They've got the poncho giveaway. They've got the bucket hat giveaway. Poncho giveaway is Tuesday. Bucket hat giveaway is Thursday. So see you at the ballpark this coming week in downtown San Diego. Let's hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Day game after an evening game, so no pregame media availability for Craig Stammen today. So let's revisit what Craig had to say after yesterday's 7-2 win in Miami. The Padres pitching staff, again, bullpen their way to a win. And what really stood out about yesterday's game was this. We found out in the morning, Randy Vasquez was going to start the game, not J.P. Sears. Vasquez goes out, gives up 1 run in 2 2/3 innings. Then Sears goes out. He's great. 3 innings and a third, no runs given up. If you put those two together, those two, let's be honest, starting pitchers, Randy, I know he's in the bullpen, but this guy's been a starter for his entire career. You put those two together, what do you get? You get 6 innings, 1 run given up. It was basically like a quality start between Vasquez and Sears, and the rest of the bullpen did a pretty nice job as well. The second consecutive win the Padres put together in Miami, stitching their pitching staff together piece by piece. They used 6 guys on Friday. They used 4 guys yesterday, and you know what? You can't argue with the results. 2 runs given up in both games. Here was Craig Stammen after yesterday's 7-2 win, talking about the Padres pitching in yesterday's win.
Yeah, very good job. You know, they make our coaching staff look really good, make the bullpen coach, pitch coach look really good the way they pitched today. You know, threw a ton of strikes. You know, we're able to get the first guys out in innings. JP especially just pretty much dominated. A little tough time in that 1 inning, but matched up really well against those guys and did his job. And then Yuki has a good inning, and Waldy's able to finish it out, you know, without us having to use Adrian and Mason.
How much did you have to veer off of the outs that you were counting, or batters you were counting, I should say?
Yeah, I think today was a little bit more on par. Randy's was kind of like at the top, some point at the top of the lineup, you know, and it just worked out where we got the, you know, double play, the weird double play, where we fly ball, guy scores, but we throw him out in second. So it made it easier for JP to come in with nobody on base. You know, kind of a clean thing right there with the lefty. We talked about Randy going longer, we talked about him going shorter, but that was kind of, we settled in that kind of area. And then JP, we're going to kind of let him take us to where we could get to the back end. And we felt like we were in a good spot with the back end, and Yuki did his job. We had it set up with Adrian and Mason, which is needed today, which is nice.
How important is, like, you didn't need them today because the offense tacked on, and with this whole system, relievers kind of everyone at your disposal. How important is it that you get the offense when you need it, so you're not running those guys?
You're right. That's a big piece of this puzzle. Is you're essentially trying to prolong the game or keep it close for a longer period of time, so that the offense can find a way to score more runs. And you hope, you know, you give your offense more innings to score runs. You keep the game closer and have a chance to win. And that's what we've done the last 2 days. Can it happen every time? Probably not, but today they, figure out a way to get some runs off a really good starter, and then, when they brought in their bullpen, we been able to score even more.
Best version of Jackson when he's using the whole field.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've all seen when he can go that left field, right over the shortstop, left center, home runs to dead center field. Like, that's the Jackson Merrill we all remember and want and love. So excited to see him have a good game like that today.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen after yesterday's 7-2 win in Miami. We'll hear more from Craig on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 10:40 in Miami. We sent things out to Jesse and Tony in under 30 minutes. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. Ty France, you think he's in that category right now? Absolutely. Hits in 12 of his last 13 games, batting .400 in that span with 6 home runs, 5 doubles, 16 RBIs in those 13 contests. Luis Rengifo in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. He's 11 for 24 in that span with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs. Manny Machado batting .333 in his last 6 games with 3 home runs. And we'll also put Jackson Merrill in the hot category today, hitting .423 with 6 extra base hits in his last 7 games. Not category, we continue to have Gavin Sheets in there. He is really going through it right now. 3 for his last 42. Sheets back in the lineup today, playing left field and batting 7th. And that is a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for this series finale. Well, we told you about Gavin Sheets, where he's hitting. How about the rest of the Padres lineup today? Looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting second. Manny Machado, a DH day batting third. Ty France at first base batting cleanup. Batting fifth, Jackson Merrill in center. Luis Rengifo getting the start at third base batting sixth. Gavin Sheets in left field batting seventh. Luis Campusano behind the plate batting eighth. And Sung Moon Song, the shortstop, batting ninth with right-hander Walker Buehler on the hill. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
We had our first major trade of trade deadline season last night. The Red Sox acquiring infielder Curtis Mead from the Nationals for left-hander Connolly Early. This was a really interesting trade. Mead has an .852 OPS with 17 home runs for the Nationals in a breakout season for Washington. That was after the White Sox DFA'd him in the spring. Early, meanwhile, really promising young pitcher, 24 years old, the 3.24 ERA in his first 21 major league starts going back to just last season. He's got tons and tons of control. Really interesting. Mead going to the Red Sox, and they gave up a young, good, controllable starting pitcher in Connolly Early to go get him. So, I don't know. To me, seems like a gamble if I'm the Red Sox. I mean, doesn't everybody want young, controllable starting pitching? Anyway, Red Sox get Mead, Nationals get Early. First major trade of this late July trade deadline season. Some big news in the American League West. A's catcher Shea Langoliers could miss the remainder of the season after suffering a torn meniscus in his right knee. Langoliers was injured on the base path, still deciding if he will have surgery. Sounds like it's pretty likely that would end his season. Salvador Perez hit his 318th career home run yesterday, passing George Brett for the most home runs in Royals franchise history. Juan Soto was played placed on the IL yesterday because of a left calf strain. He's expected to miss significant time. A grade 2 strain, apparently more severe than the right calf strain he had earlier this season when he missed nearly 3 weeks. Rangers put third baseman Josh Young on the IL yesterday because of a left calf strain as well. And finally, we talked about this with Tony a little bit earlier. Today is induction day in Cooperstown. Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, and Jeff Kent are enshrined into the National Baseball Hall of Fame today. Kent will be inducted as a Giant, Jones as a Brave, and Beltran as a New York Met. Joe Buck also received the Ford C. Frick Award, Buck the play-by-play announcer, for 24 World Series on TV. And that is a look at some of the headlines from around the major leagues. When we return, we will hear from Padres President of Baseball Operations and General Manager AJ Preller. Our keys to today's game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup coming your way as well. First pitch at 10:40 from Miami on the Padres Radio Network.
What? On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Dance floor pro.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Got to tell you, we got the wrong Will Smith song. We need the Miami song because the Padres are in Miami today. I messed that up. Should have been the Miami song. Bad job by me. I got to change up the pregame playlist for next time. Anyway, that's it for this year. Final game of the Padres will play in Miami in 2026. And anyway, we get ready for first pitch coming up at 10:40 a.m. Series finale between the Padres and the Marlins. Still a lot to do. We'll hear from AJ Preller in a moment. We'll also give you our keys to today's game, plus a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Walker Buehler and Jansen Junk. Let's give you the latest on the Padres injury front.
Who's in? Who's who's out. This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Nothing really new to report today. Joe Musgrove, Nick Pivetta, we've told you about. They both threw on Friday to hitters in Arizona in a live BP session. We'll see when they're scheduled for the next one. Jeremiah Estrada in the midst of a rehab assignment at AAA El Paso. David Morgan, we've talked about this. He did begin a rehab stint on July 15th at the Arizona Complex League, but did have a setback, some soreness in his right trap muscle. Still waiting on word to see when he will resume that rehab assignment. Samad Taylor on the IL with the oblique issue, and Miguel Andujar on the IL earlier this road trip with the right wrist fracture. Jason Adam, the shoulder issue. Lucas Giolito, the elbow inflammation. He continues to work his way back. So nothing really new to report, but obviously Padres have a lot of guys on the IL right now, and as we get updates on those guys in this coming week, we'll be sure to pass the news along. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have one game going on right now. Guardians and the Rays already in the fifth inning in Tampa Bay. What time do they start that game? It's 1:12 Eastern time. Well, they started at 9 a.m.? Guardians and the Rays in Tampa Bay. They're in the fifth inning. They're scoreless in Tampa. Everything else is coming up a little bit later. Diamondbacks and the Nationals at 10:35 in D.C. Braves and the Orioles in Baltimore at 10:35. Ronaldo Lopez against Shane Baz. Pitching matchup there. Cubs and the Pirates in Pittsburgh at 10:35. Blue Jays and the Red Sox at Fenway at 10:35. Royals and the Tigers at 10:40 in Detroit. Dodgers and the Mets in New York at 10:40. The A's and the Twins in Minnesota at 11:10. Rockies and the Brewers in Milwaukee at 11:10. Jacob Mizorowski and his 1.57 ERA on the mound for Milwaukee today. Astros and the White Sox in Chicago at 11:10. Reds and the Cardinals at 11:15 in St. Louis. Mariners visit the Rangers in Arlington at 11:35. Good pitching matchup there. Logan Gilbert against Jacob deGrom. Angels and the Giants at 1:05. And finally, later on today, Yankees and the Phillies at 4:20. Will Warren against Christopher Sanchez, the pitching matchup in Philadelphia today. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have more on those games coming up during our post-game coverage. Well, AJ Preller joined Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan on Friday. We did play some of this audio for you on Friday, but there were some things that were discussed that we did not touch on. A little bit of a wider look at the organization. Let's begin with AJ Preller, Padres president of baseball operations and general manager. His thoughts on Ethan Salas, the Padres' #1 prospect, the young catcher, on Salas' season so far.
Yeah, I mean, Ethan's had a great year. We've talked about it a few times on this program, and I think we're super excited by what he's doing. I think we've always thought very highly of him, and I think that's also part of, like, not riding the wave. You know, it's like you see him, you know, maybe publicly it's you know, one year he's, you know, the 97th ranked prospect and the next year he's 12th. He's the same person. You know, he's 19, 20 years old. He's just been healthy this year and doing the things that, you know, our baseball group feels like he could do. So again, I think you know, somebody like Ethan, we see him as being a you know, big part of the Padres future. You know, and he's, again, I think I'm just happy for him because somebody that the group thinks very highly of. You know, it's exciting to think about him playing at Petco, and really nothing's changed for us in the last year. It's not like, you know, for us, he was somebody that we've always thought highly of, and, you know, see him playing at Petco, and I feel like just seeing him perform on the field has kind of confirmed that for us here this year.
Well, certainly going to be interesting to see how Salas finishes the season, what the outlook is for Salas heading into the offseason and into spring training. Of course, there's always a looming question, especially with AJ Preller. Will Ethan Salas be in the Padres organization after the trade deadline? I don't know anything, but hey, you never know with AJ. He likes to move these guys to go get pieces for his big league team. We're going to talk, we'll hear a clip from AJ, a little bit about the trade deadline here in a second. second. Let's stay on the minor leagues for a second because the Padres, of course, took right-hander Coleman Borthwick, a right-hander out of South Walton High School in Florida, with their first-round draft pick right before the All-Star break. Padres signed Borthwick to a reported $3.8 million signing bonus. Here was AJ Preller on the team signing Borthwick, and on the other draft picks they've selected and signed as well.
Yes, yeah, the draft picks are all getting signed and in Arizona for the orientation, and yeah, we're excited to have Coleman on board for sure.
All of them?
we're working through that
okay,
here,
all right.
here today.
I
But yeah,
you.
we're gonna get I think it's different. I mean, we go into the draft like very scripted, and with a really set detailed game plan. Our guys do a lot of work, and I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you didn't really quite know exactly where a lot of the players were in terms of signability and things like that. I think with our group, we have a pretty good feel, both from a recruitment standpoint, but also, ultimately what kids want to do and how they want to do it going into these drafts. And, it's kind of a game that you have to play in terms of you have your dollars for the first 10 rounds and how do you utilize it. So our group does they do a very good job of understanding that. So yeah, we're expecting to get the class signed here and get to work.
That was AJ Preller talking about Coleman Borthwick, their first-round pick, and the status of some of the other draft picks as well. We heard on Friday from AJ Preller all different kinds of thoughts on the trade deadline and the status of the team and what the Padres may or may not do with the trade deadline looming a little bit more than a week away. There was an interesting question, though, that Ben and Woods asked AJ Preller, and it had to do with the potential lockout that may happen in Major League Baseball this offseason. Look, it's no secret. CBA negotiations are ongoing. There are many people around the industry who believe there could be a lockout, and hopefully there's not. Hopefully we don't miss any time in 2027. But, hey, it's not a secret that CBA negotiations are ongoing, and there are some major issues being discussed. AJ Preller was asked by Ben and Woods, could a potential lockout impact moves that he would even make right now as we get towards the trade deadline?
It's one of those factors. I think like how big a factor. I think you kind of weigh it out a little bit differently. But yeah, it's a factor that you've got to be aware of. You're always kind of looking at, hey, what's the here and now, and then what's the 3 and 5 year plan, and what's out there on the horizon in terms of in terms of the economic system, what changes, kind of the reserve system, how that all works. The issue though with that on this one is sometimes you can go, okay, we know this is going to be out there. Here, the conversations are going to be out there, and there's going to be a new system. There's going to be some system in place. You just don't know what exactly that's going to look like. So we're, of course, like internally, we're talking about it and like, hey, how could things change, and being prepared for how things could change. But we're not going to really know what that is, and we're definitely not going to know it by August 3rd. So it's part of our process. It's part of our thought process when we sit down and talk about, our players and decision making and where that's at. But it's again, like it's still hard to kind of predict that one. Like, hey, how are things going to exactly change? Because obviously nobody knows how that's going to work here over the course of the next 6-8 months and getting a new CBA.
A lot of good insight there from AJ Preller earlier this week on 97.3 The Fan. If you want to go back and listen to that full conversation, you can do that on the Ben and Woods On Demand podcast feed on the free Odyssey app, or wherever you find your podcast. You can also go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel, the Ben and Woods YouTube channel, and catch any portion of that interview there as well. Today is a Military Sunday here on the Padres Radio Network. Our Military Sunday, as always, brought to you by our San Diego County Toyota dealers. We make it easy. Let's give you our keys to today's game. First pitch coming up at 10:40.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Rock and Block Turf and Hardscapes. Beautiful artificial turf that stays green all year long. Trust and experience. The job isn't done until it's done right. See them at rockandblocklandscape.com.
Key number one, and it's the same key number one we've had throughout this series. Don't let the Marlins bats heat up. In this 11-game losing streak, the Marlins have scored less than 2.5 runs per game. They've scored just 2 runs in each game so far of this series. And the Marlins' top guys, they're just not swinging the bat well. You've seen it in this series. Otto Lopez is hitting 176 during their 11-game skid. Xavier Edwards is hitting 186 during the losing streak. Liam Hicks is hitting 222. They're just not hitting the ball well right now and not scoring runs. So, if you're the Padres, if you're Walker Buehler, if you're the Padres bullpen, don't let these bats heat up. That is key number 1. Key number 2, runners in scoring position, really for 2 reasons. You may not realize this. Padres have been excellent with runners in scoring position during the month of July. Their batting average as a group with runners in scoring position this month, second in the majors at .313. And by the way, Jansen Junk on the mound for Miami, teams are hitting .328 against them with runners in scoring position. So when you get guys on against Junk, make them pay. That's key number 2. Quick look at a couple of keys to today's game. Speaking of Jansen Junk, we'll talk more about him when we come back. Also, a full breakdown of today's right-hander, Walker Buehler, on the mound for San Diego. First pitch coming up in just a little bit on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Yeah, a little spin doctors for you from the Two Princes. Bringing us back in from break. I've been on kind of that era of music kick lately. Like, you know what I'm listening to right now a lot? Blues Traveler. I don't know what's got it into me. Not my era of music. I don't know. I was like 4 years old when this music was out. But Blues Traveler. I'm all into Blues Traveler right now. Anyway, first pitch coming up at 10:40 in Miami. We send things out to Jesse and Tony in 5 minutes. Let's tell you what to watch for in this series finale.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
What to watch for in today's game? One matchup in particular I've got my eye on. It is Luis Rengifo against this right-hander on the mound for Miami today, Jansen Junk. Not a lot of experience for the Padres against Junk. Freddie Fermin has a couple of at-bats against them. Same for Ty France, same for Gavin Sheets. But Luis Rengifo has not only seen him the most of any Padre, 5 at-bats against him, but he also has 3 hits in those 5 at-bats, and if you've been following along, Rengifo is red hot. So what to watch for in today's game? Rengifo, can he do some things against the right-hander on the mound for the Marlins, Jansen Junk? Let's talk more about this right-hander, 30 years old, Jansen Junk, 4-6, 5.09 ERA, 13 starts this season. He's pitched 69 innings, 73 hits given up. His last start against the Astros, not particularly good. 4 innings, 6 runs given up, 5 hits. He allowed 2 home runs. 2 starts before the break, 10 innings combined, 2 runs given up, so he had been pretty good. He does have severe splits. Righties hitting 184 against him, lefties hitting 321. He has never faced the Padres before today. Right-hander Walker Buehler on the mound for the Padres today. The 31-year-old right-hander, 6-5, 5.23 ERA, 20 starts this season, 94 2/3 innings. Last start in Atlanta, up and down, 5 2/3 innings, 2 runs given up on 2 hits. That was the good. The not so good, he also walked 5. But it was a lot better than his final 3 starts before the All-Star break, when Buehler gave up 20 earned runs in 11 combined innings, 6 home runs. So, no doubt, first start out of the break, step in the right direction for Walker Buehler. We'll see if he can continue walking that way here today. See what I did there? Walker Buehler on the mound for the Padres, Jansen Junk on the mound for Miami. As always, we appreciate you tuning in to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, we send things down to Miami. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. standing by, ready to go. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play right here on the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the finale of this road trip, everybody.